everyone. So today I'm going to start off a new series that I'm going to do this fall season, which is going to be all yarn Christmas crafts or holiday crafts. And so today I'm going to start it off with a pom pom wreath. Now I'm definitely not the first person to ever try this or invent this, so I'll definitely link some other videos down below where you can check out other people's or also other Pinterest links I find and anything like that. So you can get a variety of different ways to do the same thing. So I'm just gonna start off with my materials that I'll need for this craft. So the first thing I decided I wanted to try a candy cane wreath instead of just the circular one. So I actually got this wreath form at the Dollar Tree. So this was only $1. It is 20 inches tall, and I think it'll actually work out really well. I'm excited to try it. Plus, if it doesn't work out, you know, only $1. And yeah, so basically what we have is it's just 4 prongs. There's nothing in the back. It's gonna be kind of hard to show, but it just curves across the front, so then it'll lay flat against the wall. And since I'm making a pom-pom wreath, it might actually be kind of difficult to tie the pom-poms directly onto here. So the next thing I got was, now I left the Dollar Tree and went to AC Moore, and I got 2 kinds of ribbon. Or it's not really ribbon, it's more like the mesh ribbon. So let me open this one up. So I wanted to do the red and white stripes that a candy cane has. Let's see if I can open this. There it goes. So I got red and white mesh ribbon. So this way I could, see through? So this way I could wrap this on, figure out where I want my stripes to go, and attach this to my wreath first. And then onto this I could sew all the little pom-poms. So I'm gonna try it 2 different ways and I'll let you know which one works better for me. So the white or kind of clear mesh that I got, mesh ribbon, the first one, this one does not have wire. So that one might be easier to wrap, but then I also got a red one that does have wire because I was curious to see what the difference would be and kind of which one works better for me. So I got red. This one also has a little white stripe where the wire is. That'll be fine. So 2 colors of ribbon for that. So that's gonna be my first step. Now the next set of supplies I got all has to do with making pom-poms. So for all the knitters out there, you can definitely just dig into your stockpile and find all your red and white yarn. You can definitely use different weights, different fiber contents. So if you have a lot of red and white scraps, maybe you made a lot of stockings or something like that, you can definitely break those out and use them up here. But I just picked up 2 new things of yarn just because I was curious to see how much the whole wreath would use up. So I got 2 of the Vanna's Choice yarn. When I first started knitting, this was my favorite brand. And it is just a worsted weight yarn. So for anyone who's not familiar with the different weights of yarn, I'm using something that has the medium with the 4 on there. So that'll be how you tell the different weights at a craft store. And this one, it does show the machine in the dryer so you can wash this. But in this case we won't have to, we're just gonna be making pom-poms. So the next thing I have, or you can also buy these, but I already had these in my little stockpile. And these are the 2 pom-pom makers. I have here the large sizes. So it says it's gonna make 2.5 inch and 3 3/8 inch pom-poms. I might also have the smaller ones somewhere hidden away, but I'm gonna start off with these because it doesn't actually make quite as large of a pom-pom as it looks like here. But yeah, thought these would be a great place to start, especially because my yarn's a heavier weight. Then I also picked up red and white tapestry thread. This is what I use to tie off my pom-poms just because I found it's a little sturdier than using just regular yarn. I mean, not yarn, sorry. Regular thread. I tend to break that thread when I try and tie really tight knots with it. So I'm gonna use some tapestry thread, I guess. And then the final thing I got was I actually just got one extra thing of green ribbon just because I thought I might want to tie a bow or something on the wreath when it's all finished, but I'll wait and see what it looks like. So now I am going to get started on the first step, which will be attaching the mesh to the wreath. So I'm going to start it off and then I'll catch you guys up. I'll be back. Okay, so now I'm going to start off by wrapping the mesh around my wreath to try and make kind of the stripes of a candy cane. I'm going to start with, I think I'll start at the bottom with the red wire. We'll see how this works out. So this is the one, or red ribbon, this is the one that I got with wire in it. So I'm going to start just by wrapping it underneath there. Maybe I'll do a little bit more than that. And then just gonna, I don't know how thick I want my stripes to be. Maybe something like that would be good, right there. Yeah, let's start with that. I'm gonna cut this. Then I was trying to think of what could be kind of like the easiest way to attach this on. So what I'm actually gonna try first, it's gonna sound a little odd, but I'm gonna try my stapler and just staple it along the back. So there's my first little red section. When I tie on a couple pom-poms, I'll probably secure this at the bottom too, just so that doesn't slide off. But now let's do, so I actually quite liked it with the wire in there, just because it makes it easy to really get that corner or edge nice and clean. So now let's try some of the white one. Now that I've gotten it started, I'm just gonna continue doing the red and white stripes. I think I'm gonna do the same thing with 2 wraps for each color, all the way up and around my candy cane. So here is my candy cane wreath with all the different stripes going on. I really like how this turned out. And now this will give me a really good guide as to where to tie on the white pom-poms and where to tie on the red ones, just so I have like a pretty good gauge along here. But of course, if I get a little off, no big deal about that. And then for anyone who's wondering, I almost used up this whole thing of red ribbon. So I started out with, there's only 3 yards on here, so that's probably why. And then I still have quite a bit of this one left, so this one probably, yeah, this one started with 10 yards. I don't think you have to use one or the other, the with or without wire. I do think the wire one was a little bit better at curving around the edges and everything, but either one works totally fine. And of course, if you're using the stapler, make sure to watch your fingers. Mine has a really nice little arrow on there, so I know exactly where it's gonna staple, but make sure your fingers are nowhere near that if you're going for the stapling route. And then you also notice that sometimes these will slide a little bit, right? So these are all attached. So what I'm gonna do to prevent that from happening is sometimes when I tie on a pom-pom, I'm just gonna go all the way through the front and the back just to like secure that around these edges, because there are also kind of like the horizontal supports in here. So now onto the pom-poms. Okay, so now that we have all of our ribbon on the wreath, we're gonna start making our pom-poms. This will probably be the most time-consuming part of the project. So here I'm gonna start with 2 things of yarn. Each of these are, like I said, the medium weight or worsted weight, and these have 170 yards each. So I'll just show you how I'm gonna make one pom-pom, and then I'll have to make all the pom-poms. So, sorry if you can hear the noise that's outside, it's kind of loud. But how you do this is you start out with a pom-pom like this, with a maker like this. There's also like nice instructions on the back too, but I'll just show you real quick. What you're gonna do is you're gonna open up your pom-pom maker with the 2 sides aligned, and then you're going to, let me find where this starts, right here. I'm just gonna get a whole bunch of yarn off of here first. And you're just gonna start, gotta decide which side it's easier for you to hold it on. Just gonna start wrapping around both of those. So I essentially, it's a lot easier too to wrap in the middle so your hand doesn't get caught. And then just, if you didn't do it too tight like I just did, you can usually push it over to the side. But you wanna get it fairly tight. Makes it easier. So I go until it is completely covered and there's almost like 2 layers everywhere, because I like really full pom-poms, or as full as possible. Okay, so I finished wrapping the yarn all the way around one pom-pom maker, or both sides. So what you do when you finish is you just cut the yarn, leaving a little bit, and then just tuck it in. And now all you have to do is cut around. Let's see, sometimes it gets it's a little tricky to start it, but you just cut all the way around the pom-pom. And you can see too, I forgot to mention, like basically you can't see any of this green through, so that's how much I wrap around my pom-poms. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to cut through all the layers. You can just also cut off those little bits. Okay, and now I already have a piece of my tapestry thread off of this. It's about 18 inches. And I also split it in half just so I don't run out of my tapestry thread. You just thread it through the middle and then tie a couple knots. You want to get them fairly tight, just so the pieces of the pom-pom don't fall out. Okay, so now we can take our pom-pom out. So we just separate these and pull them apart. Here's our little pom-pom. So you want to make sure again to keep these on, because this is going to be how we tie it onto the wreath. And then if you want to, you can just trim off any of the little places where you think the strings, ooh, just pulled one out. So I probably should have tied it a little tighter. You can shape it however you want to, and then we'll be able to tie these directly onto the frame. So this one's actually looking pretty big, so I might actually use this was the 2.5 inch one. So I might actually try and find my tinier pom-pom maker and just make other ones to go along, because this is almost an entire stripe of my candy cane. So I'm gonna try and find my smaller one and continue on making all the pom-poms. Hey everyone, so I'm back again, and now I have created all my pom-poms. So if you can see, here's all the red ones, and then up further, I'll use the use the candy cane to show you all the white ones. So that was one thing of yarn in each pile, and I ended up using 3 different sizes of my pom-pom maker. This one is the tinier size in the large set, and then I also used my other set, and they aren't currently in here unfortunately, but I used the 2 smaller sizes. So this would have been the 3.8 centimeters and the 4.8 centimeters to make the 3 sizes. So if you want to see, I think that's the biggest. Yeah. Smallest, and then medium. So those are the 3 sizes I'm working with. And this is how much yarn I had left out of the 2 brand new balls of yarn. So I decided to stop there because I didn't think I could get any more pom-poms out of this. Okay, so now we're on to attaching the pom-poms to the wreath. So what I'm gonna do is I start off at the bottom down here with a red stripe. And of course I left all the tails on each of the pom-poms. So I'm just gonna use a tapestry needle. You're gonna want a little bit of a point on the needle. Thread this through. And then I'm just gonna put it through the mesh to the other side. Both sides of the pom-pom. Now I can turn it over and just tie this right into place. You're going to want to tie it pretty tight too, just to make sure the pom-poms look really full on the wreath. I'll probably just leave all my strings on there too until the very end and then cut them all. Okay, so that is my first pom-pom, and now I'm going to continue going all the way up, filling in each section with the appropriate color. So I've been working on putting the pom-poms on the wreath, and I think they're turning out really, really cute. This is all my little layers so far. But I have about 3 stripes left, but I only have 5 more pom-poms. And I've been using anywhere between, this one only has 4, but usually somewhere between 5 and 7 on each one, just because I really like how they look when they're really packed together. So I'm just gonna dig into my yarn stash a little bit, find some more red and white yarn, and make a couple more pom-poms to be able to finish this out. Also, another thing I noticed on this bottom one down here, I did use quite a few more pom-poms because I wanted to make sure it wrapped all the way around the bottom. So if you ignore all the strings for a second, but if you look, there's tons and tons of pom-poms around that one. So again, for this one up here, I'm gonna try and do a similar thing. So I'm gonna need a lot of pom-poms for this space. Okay, so now I'm all finished with the wreath. I have the pom-poms right where I want it to be. Oop, there's a little bit of a tail going on there. And I think it took me about 10 more than what I initially planned, but that is all right. I really like how the top part up here turned out. Then turning it over, all I've done on the back side is I cut off all those extra ends that were going on, and I added another little piece of tapestry thread just as a little hook if I wanted to hang it. Like that, or you could just use the metal bar to hang it off of. Either way, you could also tie a piece of ribbon around there. That'd be really pretty. So now the final step here is going to be completely optional. And what we're going to do is, I just want to try covering this up a little bit. So I'm going to take some white felt, cut out, this is about 2 1/4 inches across, my wreath is. Oops. Yep, just about, or maybe more like 2 1/3. So I'm going to cut 2 1/3 strips of this, except for the top, and I'm going to go all the way up this wreath. I'm going to hot glue it on, and then of course do the curved section separately. So now I finished putting the felt all the way along the back side, which I think looks really great, just making sure to leave out my little hook that I made. And so now we're all ready to go hang this up. Remember that everything, all the details, everything I used will be in the description box below. It'll be linked to my blog post. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment below.